Toastmasters and welcome guests. A very good evening to one and all.
Good evening.
When I first learned how to drive a car, I practiced on this small car, Maruti 800. Did any of you stop at a signal sitting in a Maruti 800 and have a Innova stop next to you? You feel as if the person is sitting on the second floor. And for the person who's sitting in the Innova, it's an incredibly powerful feeling. A chance to look down upon somebody. They look down upon the Maruti 800 and have a nice, harmless laugh, the way we are doing right now. The same is the case with this electric car, Reva. This tiny, diminutive car trudging around Bangalore in its own right. When I first came to Bangalore, I was very surprised to see the variety of car models here. People here are very open to try out new things. And I always had a hearty laugh whenever I saw cars like Reva. These people are so stupid. They don't know how to buy a decent car. I mean, look at its size and power. But one day, I learned a terrible, terrible truth. A truth which made me weep. And from then on, whenever I saw this car, I didn't insult it, I rather saluted it. Now let me ask you one thing. Talking about electric cars, how many of you, or can you guess, when the electric cars came into existence? 10 years?
No.
20 years?
More than 100.
Who said 100 years?
Mr. President.
Excellent. 1880. In the year 1902, the New York City had a fleet of 60 taxis, 60 electric cars flying as taxis, and that constituted 1/3 of the total vehicles on the road at that point of time. 10 years later, the electric cars still showed strong sales, but 112 years later, we are nowhere near the logical conclusion which should have been the state of the world today. So what went wrong? Why was the electric car not given a chance? Maybe the oil or the gas cars were better? No. The electric car was suppressed. Can you imagine the amount of oil the world would have saved if the electric car was not suppressed? We use 321 million liters of oil in a single day. 321 million liters. Had the electric mode of transport been given a chance, the history of the world would have been very different. The Middle East would still be a raging desert. And half the wars fought in the last century wouldn't have been fought or could have been avoided. However, humans being humans, we would have still fought over something else. Like a like on Facebook. I won't go into the details of the war of oil, but I want to describe another incident which happened in the 1990s. The General Motors, famous car manufacturer in the US, they came out with an electric car for the public. And this car was just as good as the gas-driven car, if not better. And they gave it for lease. They leased it out to 70 people in California. But they didn't know that one of those 70 was a Greenpeace activist. And he started popularizing the electric car. And General Motors forcefully took back all the cars, denying all offers to buy it, and threatening anybody who tried to negotiate. They immediately destroyed all the cars. One might ask why. They had investments in the oil fields. In order to save that money, they pretended the electric car never existed. Can you imagine the electric car ever existed. The electric car has zero tailpipe emissions, no smoke, no traffic pollution. And it is better than the conventional car. It outperforms the conventional car fourfold in every way. A New York Times article states that in the city of Mumbai, on a bad day, if you breathe the inversion trapped air, it's equivalent to breathing, or it's equivalent to smoking 2.5 packets of cigarette.
One breath will take,
One day.
1 year.
One day. One single day, 2.5 packets of cigarettes in Mumbai. The number of cars are increasing by 15% in India every year. In Bangalore alone, 8,000 cars are being sold every month. And India ranks 125th in the traffic pollution index, the worst in the world. And let me not talk about the effects of traffic pollution which has on us. But when I see all of this, what strikes me is that this could have been very, very different. The world could have been very, very different. There were so many instances in history where the whims and fancies of few people has decided the fate of the world. Rosa Parks, the famous activist who defied the racial discrimination in the US, famously quoted one day, "Why do all of you push us around so much?" The interests of the majority have always been suppressed by the idiosyncrasies of the minority on the altar of greater good. Maybe what we are doing today is scripted by somebody else. Maybe our goals, our dreams, our ambitions are ideas planted in our heads. Maybe we're just playing our part, as Shakespeare says, all the world's a stage and all men and women are merely players. However, does that mean we bow down and let them take over? Do we surrender our sense of morality and become a depraved human being? Definitely not. And once I learned this beautiful truth and realization dawned upon me, I always paid a silent tribute to the electric car on the roads. Over to you, Mr. President.